Having siblings means spending your childhood declaring war over the bigger slice of cake or starting actual wars over who sits in the front seat. That's pretty normal sibling rivalry. But cartoon siblings take that same petty jealousy and let it rot into revenge, betrayal, humiliation, and some of the most completely unhinged family feuds ever put on screen. Now, if you've ever had the displeasure of sitting through an episode of Peppa Pig, you know Peppa is a tyrannical pain in the ass, and George is a screeching little shite who cries if a leaf blows the wrong way. Hell, for a good chunk of a decade, their relationship is one toddler being a little shit to an even smaller toddler over and over again. But then you hear an episode literally called Peppa vs. George, and these two go all out for blood against each other. You'd expect that they're about to have the most bloody battle you'll ever see. But no, this is Peppa Pig we're talking about. Remember? The spark that lights everything up is a telly remote. Peppa wants to watch some sing-along thing that frankly no one gives a shit about. But George, like the gremlin he is, switches the telly over to his beloved dinosaurs. And from there, both of them get into a tug of war over the chunk of plastic.
I'm dancing. You can watch dinosaurs later.
No, dinosaur.
George.
But then Daddy Pig shows up, not even with any strength left in him to deal with this shit. So he just swipes the remote, shuts the TV off entirely, and tells them both to get their asses over for lunch. But if there's anything about sibling fights, it goes wherever they go. And that includes the dinner table.
George's half is bigger than mine.
Is this a genocide-level rivalry? No. Is this the pettiest entry on the list by an absolute mile? Also, no contest. But it's definitely the most relatable thing on this list for those who have siblings and the calmest possible warning shot for what's coming. That leads us straight out of toddler territory and into whatever the hell happens in the Loud House. 11 bloody kids under one roof means one thing: absolute, unadulterated survival of the fittest. Hell. Can you even imagine the sheer logistics of that nightmare? It's a miracle the parents haven't checked themselves into a mental asylum. But anyway, we're not looking into the rivalries of every Loud family member. That would just be an entire video of its own. And nobody embodies that ruthless predatory instinct quite like the twins, Lola and Lana.
Whoa! That's my sisters! And this is your other sister!
For starters, they are polar opposites in every single way. Lola's your classic pageant queen, tiara, gowns, and an ego the size of a small country. Lana is the opposite: mud, bugs, wrenches, and an aggressively enthusiastic relationship with anything that could be classified as gross. You'd think putting these two in the same bedroom would be a recipe for a bloodbath, and honestly, sometimes it kind of is.
Oh, Midge, how much for the half-eaten cheese? It'd make a great centerpiece.
A good example of said rivalry is in Strife of the Party. Since they're twins, they share a birthday, and Lola is always the one who gets to plan it. And she always wants it pink and glittery, and always looks like something that's set in the peak Disney era. But this year, Lana finally snaps and demands to plan their 7th birthday party. And Lola surprisingly agrees. But the second Lana starts planning, Lola realizes Lana's idea of a good party is a literal health hazard. So instead of talking it out, Lola figures that the best $1 million idea is to sabotage her sister's effort.
What? That's not even my tiara! Everybody's wearing them nowadays. Save it! I can't believe you! You've been lying this whole time!
That's the tragedy of Lola and Lana in a nutshell. They're twins. They share a birthday. They're supposed to be two halves of the same bloody coin. And instead, one of them can't stop trying to control the other, even if it means torching the one day that's meant to belong to both of them equally. As for our next entry, even though they're not twins, you definitely can't spell cartoon siblings without them. Well, I mean, you actually can, but that's not really the point here. Dexter's Laboratory gave us the golden era of the cartoon sibling dynamic, because Dexter and Dee Dee have been going at it since the literal moment they met. And I mean the literal moment that they met. The show's canon origin story for their entire relationship is that toddler Dee Dee met newborn Dexter, got overexcited, and poked his belly button hard enough to make him cry. And that's how sibling rivalries are born from day one. Eventually, Dexter had enough of his sister's antics and built his iconic lab, just so he can get away from Dee Dee. But somehow, she always finds her way in, and constantly wrecks the entire lab. Not even out of malice, mind you. She just genuinely thinks Dexter's lab is the best playground on Earth. Meanwhile, Dexter is having a stroke in the corner because she's just casually dismantled 6 months of research by pressing one fucking button.
What do these buttons do? No, they just stop!
At this point, you can kind of see how their whole dynamic works. One is a super genius in the family, and the other survived natural selection somehow. There's even a moment in Space Case where Dexter hands his sister over to literal aliens just to save his own skin. But then he starts to realise, yeah, maybe handing my sister to extraterrestrial life forms is a bad idea.
Going on a trip to Candyland. I would go, but I don't want to get experimented on. I'm not hungry.
Candyland? Let's go!
So he does what he always refuses to do for her. He drops everything and flies into outer space to bring his sister home, admitting flat out that it's lonely without her. And it's the one thing his genius brain never saw coming.
It is very lonely here without you. I can't even work.
But that's just the thing about siblings. One day you're wishing that they would just disappear, and the next you're like, oh, why the hell did I say that? But moving on, we have a sibling dynamic that's actually deeply upsetting if you stop to think about it for more than 5 seconds. Because in the Lilo and Stitch movie, we get a glimpse of a woman in her late teens trying to raise a small feral child while the government breathes down her neck about it. Nani is in every way Lilo's guardian, but just as much as she's her sister. So every fight between them is pretty much in the dynamic of an exhausted single parent and a grieving kid who has no bloody idea about how to process her parents' death.
For me.
No!
No, you don't understand?
No!
No. What?
No!
If you watch the opening act of the original film, the friction between them is incredibly raw. Lilo has just acted out her hula class and bitten a classmate named Myrtle because she called her weird. Meanwhile, Nani is working herself to the bone at a low-wage job, trying to keep the house clean, cook meals, and trying to convince the stone-faced social worker named Cobra Bubbles that she's fit to raise a kid.
I am the one they call when things go wrong. And things have indeed gone wrong.
The two of them bicker constantly, and it's proper sisterly bickering too. All while Nani is trying to figure out how the actual to be a parent, and Lilo's struggling with the fact that her parents are dead. They're both just doing their absolute best with a job that neither of them signed up for.
Oh no! Gravity is increasing on me.
No, it's not!
It is too, Lilo. The same thing happened yesterday.
You rotten sister, your body is crushing me!
The moment where this whole dynamic completely collapses into a cluster of shouting is right after Cobra Bubbles gives Nani 3 days to prove that she's a responsible parent figure. So every single fight between them has a horrifying subtext underneath it. Lose your temper one too many times and you could lose sight of each other for good.
I don't like it because it's stinky like you! Get out of your room! I'm already in my room!
The rivalry here is tragic because it's born out of love and absolute desperation. Lilo is acting out because her parents are dead and she doesn't know how to process the gaping void in her life. Nani is snapping at her because she's under an astronomical amount of stress, trying to prevent their tiny family from being legally dismantled. It's just a moment where they're both completely in the wrong and completely in the right at the same time. However, it's not like our next entry, which we can say is all flavors of wrong. We're not even exaggerating either. All we just need to say is Zuko and Azula, and there you go. See, you're agreeing already. In fact, the rivalry between these two is more or less a how-to guide on turning your kids against each other. And Fire Lord Ozai basically looked at his kids and decided to have the longest bloody elimination match between them. Zuko's the oldest, who wasn't even worth looking at by his bloody father. All because he has a shred of human empathy. And Azula, on the other hand, is the golden child prodigy. She is a clinical, calculating sociopath who bends blue fire and could even generate lightning before she hit puberty. Sure, at this point, Azula has it all. She's the better fighter, and she's her father's favourite. But no, Azula doesn't just want to beat Zuko, she wants to completely dismantle his mind. She spends 3 seasons showing up like a sleep paralysis demon, mocking his failures, lying to his face, and uses his desire for Ozai to notice him, to make the worst decisions of his life. In fact, she sees him completely as an inferior species, rather than a brother. The absolute pinnacle of this hatred is the final Ignikai, which is a fantastic looking fight, but just an emotional mess between the two. Zuko fights with calm, measured, fluid motions, while Azula is just a mental wreck at that point. All in a battle to decide who becomes the next Fire Lord. It then becomes incredibly clear that Zuko is winning. He's calm, he's grounded, and he's easily redirecting everything Azula throws at him. Azula realizes she's completely outmatched, and her fragile ego can't handle the concept of losing to the brother that she's always viewed as a pathetic, weak disappointment. So, she decides to cheat like an absolute coward and fires a lightning bolt straight at Katara, forcing Zuko to either save himself or sacrifice his body. And knowing Zuko, he most definitely chose to save Katara. At this point, her rivalry with Zuko isn't about honor. To hell with honor and the Fire Lord throne, she just wants to see her brother burn, regardless of how it happens, making this one of the most intense sibling rivalries in cartoon history. And if that's the case, then what would you call our next pair? After all, their rivalry got so heated that they rather let the world burn than to even think about getting together. That brings us to our next pair, Stanley and Stanford Pines. Alright, to explain who's whom, one's a paranoid genius who vanished into another dimension for 30 years, and the other is a conman who spent that entire time carrying the guilt of accidentally destroying his brother's life's work. These two have a lifetime of resentment. Ford was the golden child, genius, who got all of the attention, and Stan was the absolute bloody waste of space who accidentally ruined Ford's high school science project, getting himself kicked out of the house in the process. They never spoke with each other for decades, and then, through a series of chaotic events, Stan spent 30 agonizing years of his life pretending to be his brother, running a scam tourist trap, and building a massive sci-fi portal just to drag Ford back from another dimension. You would think that after 30 years of transdimensional exile, Ford would be grateful, but no. The moment he steps back into reality, they go right back to bickering like a pair of muppets.
After all these long years of waiting, you're actually here! Oh, ow!
This was an insanely risky move, restarting the portal. Didn't you read my warnings?
And this stubborn childhood resentment completely peaks in Weirdmageddon 3. Basically, the whole town's under siege by Bill Cipher, the Dream Demon, and the only way to stop him is for 10 specific people to link hands around a giant zodiac wheel. Everyone takes their place. Stan and Ford are the final 2 links in the chain. All they have to do is hold hands. That's it. Just reach out and grab your brother's hand and save the bloody world. And, well, you can guess what happened between them.
Grammar, Stanley.
Oh, Grammar Stanley, you stuck-up
Don't
son of a
jeopardize
gun!
this, you idiot!
Are you crazy?
Oh no, it's Bill! Right?
The magical circle gets broken because they couldn't stop squabbling, like children. Bill Cipher finally finishes off the Mystery Shack Megazord, laughs in their faces, and turns the rest of the heroes into stone tapestries. And just like that, the entire universe is put on the brink of permanent annihilation because 2 grumpy 70-year-old man-children couldn't resolve a high school grudge. It's the ultimate testament to how sibling petty behavior can scale up to cosmic levels of disaster. But most importantly, if you've been tagging along with this channel, first up, you're a legend, and second, you definitely know it's about time we address the elephant in the room, and that is Horrid Henry and Perfect Peter.
No treats for you, Henry. Only good children deserve to go to the fun fair.
I've been good, Mum.
Of course you can, Peter. What?
If you've ever seen this show, then you know what absolute hell of a relationship these two have. Henry is chaos incarnate. He's that scheming, rule-breaking kid who's allergic to anything that reeks of responsibility within a 30-kilometer radius. Meanwhile, Peter, his little brother, is everything Henry's not. A polite, tidy, smug, goody two-shoes who spends 90% of his day running to tell on Henry for not breathing properly. While most episodes involve Henry dumping slime on Peter, or Peter just being a little snitch as always, these two are specific episodes where their rivalry goes so far it becomes genuinely disturbing.
That was an accident. I'll be good, I promise.
The first of this is the legendary episode, Horrid Henry's Perfect Day. The family is supposed to be going to a massive fun fair, but the parents decree that Henry can't go unless he behaves perfectly for an entire day. Henry realizes that the only way to win this game is to completely subvert it. He decides to spend the day being absolutely faultlessly good. He helps clear the dinner table, he eats all of his vegetables without complaining, he speaks politely, and he completely refuses to bait or bully Peter.
Sooner or later, you'll do something horrid. You always do.
I forgive you.
However, this sudden, drastic shift completely breaks Peter's mind. You see, Peter's entire being the special good kid in the house depends entirely on Henry being a monster. If Henry's good, Peter's no longer special. He can't handle the loss of control. He goes into an unhinged frenzy, forcing Henry to be bad again. And that involved him being his own version of Horrid Henry. But it didn't just stop there. There's another episode called Perfect Peter's Horrid Day, where Peter literally spent the entire day being a little shittier than he always has been, just because the little felt like he hadn't got enough attention that week.
Come on, Peter. You'll have to do better than that. I'm absolutely going to be more horrid. After breakfast.
At this point, this entry's become more like an anti-Peter campaign, and we're all here for it at Not Fair. Because, let's be completely honest, the little sod deserves every single bit of it. He is the ultimate gold standard, textbook example of an insufferable little. You just know that if he were a real kid, he'd be the type to remind the teacher about the homework 2 minutes before the final bell rings. Henry might be a chaotic, loudmouth menace to society, but at least he's honest about his absolute villainy. Peter, on the other hand, hides behind that little smug, angelic smile while weaponizing his innocence to get his brother crucified by their parents every single day. So when Henry finally snaps and cooks up a plan that completely shatters Peter's pristine reputation, it feels like poetic justice. Watching that little goody two-shoes get what's coming to him is an absolute joy.
Henry!
Leaving already, Great Aunt Greta?
But as much as we hate Perfect Peter here, not all cartoon siblings are as black and white. Sometimes two people just can't exist around each other without leading it to a literal disaster. Anyways, tell us where we got the order wrong in the comments, and extra points for a rivalry that we missed. Like, subscribe, and go make peace with your own siblings. Cheerio!